Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. The topic for today is what's wrong with saying, I don't care? I see this go on with a lot of men. There's something going on with their partner or their friend group or their family. They seem to have a feeling about it. Maybe they're talking about it. But when it starts to feel a bit heavy or the spotlight goes to them and their feeling about it, they'll quickly switch into, I don't care. I really, really understand this experience because this used to be the mantra of my life. It probably started around the beginning of high school. Like a lot of boys, I was trying to figure out how to be cool, how to fit in, how to avoid being bullied. And this strategy worked really well for me because I was introverted naturally, not very emotive, although pretty sensitive on the inside. So it wasn't too hard to match this phrase with how I looked to others. It was convincing. No matter what was going on in my life, I was able to bury that pain, ignore my sensitivity, and just be like, I don't give a shit. And because I believed this, there was a bliss in the ignorance most of the time. I didn't care if I got in trouble. I didn't care if I did something that embarrassed me. I didn't care if I did something dangerous. And I really took on this character. He was fearless, cool, tough, all that stuff. I was trying to figure out how to be a man, and it seemed like that's what a strong man was. I'm guessing a lot of you guys can relate with this. And the weird thing is, it really worked in a lot of ways. It served me. I compartmentalized my sensitivity, my stress, the struggles that I was going through in my life. And there were things about that that attracted people to me. I started to make friends easier. Girls seemed more interested in me. That was probably the light side of it. It allowed me to be less inhibited, to not care as much what other people thought. But the cost was that I wasn't being genuine. And then every 2 or 3 months, I'd probably have some type of mental breakdown. It's not something I would show the world. Sometimes this would happen on my own or in the presence of my girlfriend because that felt like a safe place to express. But as I look back on that experience, I can see why it didn't work. No shit, I started drinking and using other substances because continuing to ignore your pain is not sustainable. And I do see a lot of men still stuck in this to some degree. It might even be subconscious because I remember vividly really believing that nothing bothered me. So, how does this play out in your 30s, 40s, 50s if you're a man who retreats back into his I don't care box? What it ends up looking like is severed connections, or not even creating real connections in the first place. You may look at conversations that you've had with your partner where you throw your hands up in the air and say, I don't even care about this. Whatever. I'm done. What's really happening is you're feeling overwhelmed. Your partner might not be helping you out at all. I get that. But you as an individual are emotionally overwhelmed by what's happening. And this could be a combination of things. It could be things that you haven't dealt with in your past that are continuing to plague you, on top of the stress of being a human, a man, a husband, a father who's trying to provide for his family, mixed with continual relational stress because you and your partner don't know how to work through things. And if all of that is going on, your capacity, your tolerance is going to be pretty low. One little thing can set you off. Maybe you get angry. Maybe you shut down, a mix of both. And the quick, easy move that provides relief for a lot of men is to try to push it away and not care. The problem, if you're not seeing it already, is that continuing to do this dulls our vitality, our creativity, our connection to life. We have to be plugged into both the positive and negative of our life experience. That's what gives it color. That's what helps us feel alive. I'm not surprised at all that men choose to take their own lives because I've been there. If you stop caring about basically everything, you no longer feel connected to anyone. Thus, you isolate emotionally or physically. And there can come a time when a man believes not only that they don't care about anything, but also that no one cares about them, that their life doesn't matter. And even if you've never been in this dark of a place, most of you have probably had a flavor of it, feeling useless, worthless, insignificant. So I want to help you connect the dots if this is a move that you make, because it's also not honest. This can show up with men and women. You've probably had a conversation like this before. Someone's complaining about another person, they're going on and on about it, and then they just pull the ripcord. I don't even care. Fuck that person. And this can be jarring as a listener because you're hearing how much they do care. Thus, there is all this energy and story and feeling. And then they say something that totally contradicts that. If I could translate what they're saying, I don't care would most likely translate into, man, I'm feeling so overwhelmed as we talk about this. There is so much feeling here, and I don't know how to make sense of it. I'm spinning. If you're putting yourself in the listener's shoes, that would be really easy to hear. It's vulnerable, it's honest, it tracks with how you're experiencing them. This is a vital skill for all of us to have when we're having emotionally charged conversations with others. It's attuning to what's it like to be with me. If we're dragging people around by our unprocessed thoughts for too long, they're going to get tired. They're not going to want to listen to us. So if we want to create a space where someone can really see us, then we need to look for ways to be more honest and vulnerable about what's happening. I don't care as a blanket statement is rarely, if not never, true if we're bringing something up. And I'll be honest, reflecting on this now, I can still see how I do this in little ways. It's still an easy move for me to lean away from a feeling that I don't want to feel, even if it's subtle. This is probably the reason why I'm talking about this right now. I just had a conversation with Jenny about my friend group, and I'm now remembering that I said, I don't care at least a couple of times while I was talking about it. I said something like, well, I don't care if I don't end up building a relationship with this person. And I don't really care what happens over in that group of people. I'm not sure I want to be involved. What's more true as I'm sitting with it is that I do feel disappointed when I see my friends communicate ineffectively, and I'm afraid to insert myself because I don't want the spotlight to be on me. I don't want to come across as the sensitive one because I will be less liked, maybe not invited to things. Yeah, that's what I'm aware of in this moment. So I'm saying that just to give you an idea of what might be happening for you. This can happen on a daily basis, and there's nothing wrong with prioritizing what you care about more. Like if you're reading the news too much, you might care about what's going on in the world, but also it might be a good idea to bring your attention back to yourself and your world, your family. And so you can consciously set that to the side and not care about that right now. And maybe care isn't the right word because you do care about it, but you're going to move your focus, your attention to yourself and those closest to you. And this is a tangent, but in my view, everyone in this country probably needs therapy for what's happening. I know that might sound dramatic, but it's true. We just haven't normalized getting emotional support in this way. There's all this talk about nuclear weapons. Prices are going up. People don't know what's going to happen. That's stressful on everybody. And that obviously gets projected out onto the people that are making the decisions or the people that are on the other side of your position. But there's this very real question. How are you doing with this? Let's talk about your fears. Let's talk about what it's like to read the headlines. Anyways, I think a lot of people are on edge because of what's happening in the world. So to sum up this episode into one move that you can make, I'd suggest removing I don't care from your vocabulary for a period of time, just as a practice. And when you notice yourself going to compartmentalize something, just try saying one thing that's true about your feelings. And usually the thing that men don't want to admit is that they feel inadequate, they feel shame, they feel sad, or they feel scared. Anger is usually an easy one to acknowledge, and that might be a part of it. But also look for the more tender experience underneath: shame, guilt, fear, sadness. This will help keep your emotional energy flowing so you don't short circuit, and it's going to make people feel more connected to you and you to them. Most people, most of the time, are going to soften when they hear you speak like this. Even if they don't really know how to handle it, it might be scary for them to see it. This will change your relationships and the way that you relate to yourself for the better. That is all I have for today. Come check out the men's group that I run, and I will see you next week.